It's 2018, and Mike Green's at the free throw line for Ike. He misses the free throw, but it doesn't matter because Ike's about to win the Basketball Champions League. Wait a minute. Did someone say the Basketball Champions League? Whoa. Let's go back and find out just how we got here. Okay, so let's go back. Now, we could go back to the beginning of the 2017-18 Basketball Champions League regular season, but why don't we just go back 1 year further? So here we are now, and the year is 2016 going into 17, and it's now the inaugural season of the Basketball Champions League, and this is Ike. Well, there's some players here that actually won the Champions League the year later, such as Gianoulis Lalantzakis, Dimitris Mavroidis, and then there's this guy. You're going to need to remember this guy. This man has the greatest jump shot in Europe. Yeah, you know who he is. Dusan Šakota. Now, they're coached by this guy, and his name is Jure Zdovic. Now, when trying to pay homage to this guy, there's just simply too many accolades to remember in one's head, so we have to look this information up online. Now, as a player, he was a champion in 1993 of Europe, two-time FIBA European selection, a FIBA Eurostar in 1996, Adriatic League champion in 2002, two-time French League champion, two-time Slovenian League champion, three-time Slovenian Cup winner, a Croatian League champion, Adriatic League Final Four MVP, and he was inaugurated in 2015 into the Slovenian Athletics Hall of Fame. Now, that's just as a player, but what are his accolades as a coach? Bosnian League champion, Slovenian League champion, Croatian League champion, two-time Croatian Cup winner, and three-time Slovenian Cup winner. I think you get the point. The guy is a basketball genius. He knows his stuff. He's definitely a European basketball guru. Okay, so Ike has a very good basketball team, has a very, very good basketball coach, but how do they do in their first year in the Basketball Champions League? Well, they did as they were expected to do. They beat teams, essentially. That's what Ike is known for. They're one of the greatest teams in Greece. They've been known as historically, one of the best teams in Europe. On the way, they did lose to these guys by 5, they lost to these guys by 3, and they lost to these guys by 2. Wait, 1, 2... Anyway, they also lost to these guys in a doubleheader, but they finished second place in the group, and as you can see, just below Besiktas and just above Partizan. Playoffs, but it's Ike. We knew they were going to get to the playoffs, and they're matched up with these guys. Labas vakaras, Kipsakasi, man patenka krepshini. So Ike basically had to get onto a plane in Athens and fly all the way to the Baltic, and in a first game, quite close, led by, you remember this guy, right? Yeah, well, he leads the way, and they win by 1 point. Okay, so they got to hop back on the plane, fly all the way back to Athens, and play in game 2. But the problem is, it's not game 1, 2, and 3, it's essentially aggregate. So whoever has the most points over 2 games is the winner, and well, you remember this guy, right? Well, Ike win convincingly. No problem, done. Okay, so Ike's now knocked off one team. Now they're probably thinking, well, who's next? Well, je vous présente le Monaco. Les voici. Bonjour. J'ai du le basket. So the first game is played at the Waka, and the man with the greatest jump shot in Europe, yeah, you remember this guy. He has 20 points and 5 rebounds, and he only leads Ike to a 1-point victory. Well, that's cutting it close, seeing as it's played on aggregate, which means they've got to go back to Monaco and play the second game. Problem is, this is where the journey ends for Ike. They go to Monaco, and, well, they lose to the team that beats them on the day. And that's the end of Ike's season here. But I want you to remember this team because we will see them again. Au revoir. Nous reverrons. So that was the end of the season for Ike in the Basketball Champions League. But going forward a year, they had to find new pieces of the puzzle and signed a whole bunch of new players known as the Ike Vengers. Nanny Harris, Delroy James, Mike Green from Pinaka Shiyaka, Vince Hunter. Oh, and they got this guy from Aris. If you're not quite sure who he is, that's Panayotis Vasilopoulos. He played for Greece in the 2006 World Championship that beat Team USA in the semi-final. Yeah, enough said. They also signed Xanthopoulos from Aris, and they brought back last season's heroes as well. Ike decided to go in a new direction and get a new coach, but it didn't work out for the best, so they decided to step in and put the sports director, Dragan Šakota. Yeah, I think you guessed it, father and son. The last change they made was they were able to snap up Kevin Punter from Rosa Radom midway through the season. So Ike's looking good, right? No, the season has been underwhelming for Ike, and it takes him the very last game of the regular season to have to beat these guys, Guten Tag, wie geht's dir, to have to qualify for the playoffs. And now, with 7 seconds left in the game, Manny Harris with the ball in his hands has to kick the ball out to
Harris kicks it out. Shakota for three. It's good.
Well, Ike had to know what was the score in the Umana Rea Venezia game. Shakota asked his cousin. They lost. They go through. How do I know this? Well, he told me. Yep. Shaq's a great guy. Real great guy.
playoffs again. Great. But that was kind of wasn't expected because it'd been such an underwhelming season for Ike. But they did manage to qualify the playoffs, and they got these guys in the first round. But if you were to say to me that these guys were going to go all the way to the Waka and run Ike off the floor in the first game, I would have laughed at you. But that's exactly what happened.
In the middle, Ray, oh my Lord! Kendrick Ray! Well played, Davis on the basket, throws it down again. Explosive, quick step, in and around, step back, long two, puts it up, Kendrick Ray. I mean, he's making them from all angles. Puts it in, puts up the layup, he misses it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the first leg, it is the visitors who come into the Waka, Ches Nimberg.
Ches Nimberg went to the Waka and, led by an inspired Kendrick Ray, took a 10-point lead going into the second leg. Oh my Lord, they gave up 10 points on their home court. That must be over, right? But Ike being Ike, they fly all the way to the middle of Europe. And they're first inspired by this guy, who's the first piece of the puzzle, and he completely obliterates Ches Nimberg. But with seconds left in the game, they need another piece of the puzzle, and it's now Kevin Punter. This has got to be one of the greatest shots of all time.
They could win the game with a three. Mike Green kicks it out. Punter, three. Oh baby! Oh baby! They've done it! Just how do they do it? The comeback kings of Europe. Just when you thought it was all over, Ike surprised us yet again.
Ike just don't know when they're beat, do they? And in the next round, the round before the Final Four, they get these guys. So after a first game win, they fly to Strasbourg and they pretty much close the series out. And what do you know? Final Four. And guess where the Final Four is being held? The Waka. Final Four. Okay, Ike's in it. They're hosting it. But who do they have in the semifinal?
Hola, ¿qué pasa? El campeones el año pasado de Basketball Champions League fueron españoles. Sí, es la verdad, ¿no?
This is but another chance, and it's Benitez!
Cleaning up on the defensive glass.
Alley-oop, and it's slammed home by Ovi Soko. And now he comes up with a steal, and Punter goes up for the two-handed jab. In the tight situation.
So with 5.3 seconds left, Delroy James misses the free throw, but Ike narrowly escaped with the victory in the semifinal.
So after a very nail-biting semi-final for those Ike fans, they only won by 2 points and booked themselves a place in the final and 1 game away from being champions of the Basketball Champions League. And who did they meet? I told you not to forget about them. They met... Bonjour, c'est encore toi. Puis on se retrouve.
So you remember I talked about the Ike Vengers and the pieces of the puzzle? Well, let's just say they all came together at the right time. And right now was the final of the Basketball Champions League.
So well in the first quarter against Murcia.
Alley-oop pass! Vance Huntley. Harris for the rebound like so many times tonight.
Just want to point out points in the paint.
Punter's open. Let's go! And he is fouled while shooting the three.
And well, my friends, that is the story how Ivasalisa and Kitrini Mavri became the champions of the Basketball Champions League.